Hey guys, I'm Joe Morgan with the Daily Wire. I'm the sports reporter here, and it is my honor to be joined by a candidate for U.S. Senate in Georgia and the greatest college football running back of all time, Herschel Walker. Herschel, how are you?
I'm doing well. How you doing? Thank you for having me on.
You've had an incredible career, obviously, as an athlete. How did you get to this point where you've decided to jump into politics? What went into this?
Well, it's because I had a great year in the athletic world. You know, the athletic world of this country gave me so many great privileges to have the freedom that I had to do the things that I did. And this country has given me so much, but all I've ever done is carry a football. This country is right now, people are trying to separate this country, and I just couldn't sit back anymore and let it happen and think I can live with myself with all the freedoms that I've been afforded living here in America.
You know, you mentioned some of the issues going on in America right now. Is there anything in particular that is, really jumping off the page to you in your home state, obviously, of Georgia, but in America as a whole?
Being a football player, you saw so much racial divide, and they were talking about standing and kneeling and all this for our United States flag, for the national anthem. They were almost making people of color seem like they were not intelligent enough to do anything. I wanted to educate people, say, guys, you better wake up. I think right now our leaders are trying to fool us like a magician. They continue to have you thinking about racism, trying to divide you, having you thinking about this, while they pass these bills over here that's destroying this country.
You are that great example of the American success story, right? You worked your way through college football, then you went to the pros, and now you're trying something different. Is that an approach you're going to take, as a non-politician, quite frankly, if you were to be elected? Is that really the thought process for you of the great American success story?
I don't want to take that approach. My approach is that it's going to be the truth. What is great for this country? I don't want people to see me as an athlete. I want people to see me as an American that's fighting for what's right. Where do we get? We turn our backs on our military. We turn our backs on our first responders. Where do we get that? That we've gotten so spoiled that now we want to put these things down. And my question I ask anyone out there, is there a country better than the United States of America? And if there's one that you like, why not go there?
I think, unfortunately, when you're in a place such as America, where I think we can get very spoiled and very comfortable and not realize what's going on in many other parts of the world, where America, while we do have our faults, I think we can all admit this, it still is the land of the free, where opportunity is really whatever you want. You can make yourself into anything, and I do think there is this notion coming down from the top at the moment that some people are starting off at a lower point than others, and I do think it's very divisive in America at the moment. Your thoughts on that?
Some people may start out with hard times. I started out, I had a speech impediment. I couldn't put a sentence together. I was overweight. No one ever thought I'd become an athlete. I started to work. I worked, and because I'm living in America, I had the opportunity to have those freedoms, to have this speech, to do what I wanted to do, to achieve. And I'm tired of people hearing that because I'm black, I'm oppressed. Like I can't have the opportunity to do it. And then I have entertainers that's saying the same thing. You have athletes that's saying the same thing. Yet they achieve the American dream. You're going to tell a young kid that he can't do it? He can do it. I did 5,000 push-ups every day, 5,000 sit-ups every day to win my job at the University of Georgia. I earned the right to be there. There was other people that had the opportunity to earn that right as well. Where if they didn't work as hard, they didn't do what it called to do, they may not have got that. But we are a team. We're a team that we stay together. It ain't got nothing to do with color.
Established Titles is your opportunity to earn the title of Lord or Lady in Scotland. All you need is 1 square foot plot of land and a certificate. Established Titles is a project based on a historic Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lairds or lords and ladies in English. In your title pack, you will receive at least 1 square foot of dedicated land on a private estate and an official certificate with a crest. Your certificate will include a unique plot number so that you can see the exact location of your land. Established Titles commits to preserving the woodlands not only in Scotland, but around the planet. They have partnerships with global charities like One Tree Planted and Trees for the Future to help with our afforestation efforts. And for every order they receive, a tree is planted. Established Titles is having a great sale right now, but it's only running for a limited time. So go to establishedtitles.com/dailywire to save 10% off today. Remember to use the discount code DAILYWIRE or just click the link below. That's establishedtitles.com/dailywire, or just click the link in the description. Let's dive into that a little bit then about the infusion of politics and sports. My question to you is obviously, in the last decade, it feels like politics and sports have become very much synonymous with each other. Was that always the case, back when you were playing, and was it just kind of buried, right? So were these conversations happening in the locker room? We didn't have social media, so it wasn't always coming out into the public. Or is this a relatively new phenomenon, potentially, created and helped by the media?
I know for myself, that was not something I ever dealt with or even talked about. So it has come so far to be right now where we're at today, where we seem to be taking sports back. And I don't think these major leagues realize that, because what has happened right now is you have other people on those teams, on a football team, that are white. You have some Latinos. You have other people that's on that team. They cannot say what they feel because they're going to be shouted down or they're going to be put down. So they got to go along and pretend, I guarantee you, to pretend that they're doing alone, or you may be cut from the team, or you may be beat up, or somebody going to isolate you out.
Well, let me ask you this. How much responsibility do you put on the athletes for how we've kind of gotten to this point? Because, I didn't play, obviously, at your level, but I've been in locker rooms covering teams, and there is a huge difference between what is said outwardly to the media and what goes on within a locker room, in my opinion, because there is a togetherness, regardless of what you look like. It doesn't matter what you look like. There is a togetherness. So how much onus do you put on the actual athletes to come out and, I wouldn't say stop what's going on, but at least speak their mind freely?
Well, what is so interesting, and you said it early on, I think the social media world has totally changed sports. And I'm not saying athletes shouldn't speak out. They should speak out. And I think they should speak what they feel. But at the same time, I think speaking against the country where you're making the majority of your money, or speaking against the country where you're getting educated, speaking against the country that allowing you these privileges you have, that's a tough that's a tough thing to bite right there. Now, let's be honest.
I'm curious. I don't know if you saw Kaepernick's recent docu-series, but he did compare the NFL Combine to basically modern day slavery. It was obviously kind of a moment that everybody was looking at and was kind of shocked by. Do you have any thoughts on that comparison? I'll just leave it at that.
It is a shame that we even allow someone to even do that. Does he know what slavery was? As a slave, that back in those days, you didn't have the right to say, oh, I don't really want to play, or somebody else. Whereas he had an opportunity to not even go to that combine. He didn't have to go. So don't compare that the combine is like that right there. You had an opportunity not to do it. How many other athletes, whether you're African-American or white, would have loved to have taken the opportunity he had?
Obviously hasn't been in the NFL since 2016. He had a good run, and then the national anthem protest started, and he hasn't played since. Do you think that did play a part, at least, in him not playing in the NFL, or is it strictly just his performance on the field?
He didn't do what they asked him to do, and that's the problem we have. If you're trying out, like I own a company, I have rules in me hiring people. Where people don't want to go by my rules, I'm probably not going to hire you. He had an opportunity to try it for a team. Maybe he would have made it, but he decided to do it under his rules, not under their rules.
I wanted to dive into some of the name, image, and likeness rules that have now in college sports, where these athletes are allowed to profit off of what they do. What are your thoughts on that as a former college athlete? And if you had that, back in your day, would you have made a good amount of money?
Well, I think that is absolutely terrible. I think it's the worst thing for college sports. The ego separation trying to play a big part again. I think you're going to separate the athletes. There's no doubt these young athletes want to be paid for what they're doing, but you're not a professional yet. People consider me as one of the greatest running backs that play in college football. I'm one of them. But I didn't do it by myself. And do you know not one of my offensive linemen ever made All-Pro? Well, something is wrong with that picture there now. How did Herschel Walker do all these things, but not one of his offensive linemen make All-Pro? So that means they wouldn't have received any of the money that I would have been getting. But that's not right. You're going to have some guy making all this money driving a Mercedes, and his guys, his teammates, are out there like struggling to get by. Well, I think that's going to be a terrible thing to do.
And I do think there is certainly potential for issues in the locker room when your quarterback's making, whatever he's making, and offensive linemen aren't making a dime. I do think, and you look, I think college athletes should be compensated on some scale for what they're doing, and maybe that is the education. But we are now getting to the point where it's almost the Wild West, and now you're going to see athletes going to certain teams based on the NIL rules.
Well, are they not opening up a can of worms? Because right now, if you're going to pay the athletes that's there right now, the athlete from the past probably going to say, I don't want you to use my likeness as well. To use my likeness, you got to pay for it to use my likeness. And now college sports becomes something that it shouldn't have never became.
Last question for you. I got to ask you about Georgia. Clearly the best team in the country. That defense is nasty as all can be. Is this finally the year the Georgia, Kirby Smart, they get over the hump, or are you still worried about Nick Saban over there at Alabama?
Well, it's so funny. You always got to worry about Alabama. Alabama's got a good team. Coach Saban is an incredible coach. But I tell you what, Georgia is playing. After the Braves winning the World Series, Georgia win the national championship, and Herschel Walker win the Senate, that's going to be absolutely incredible. I've been saying this for a while, and I know you didn't ask this question, but I think they need to bring maybe 8 teams into the playoffs.
Well, I think at least 6. You have 5 Power 5 conferences.
I think other conferences are just as good. So give them an opportunity. If they got some winners to go in as well, and let's see how they match up.
Beautiful college football is on the horizon. Herschel, I really appreciate the time. I'm excited to see what you do moving forward, and we look forward to speaking with you again soon.
Hey, thank you, man. God bless you there.